Hello, and welcome to East Tennessee News Stories City Council Update. This week at City Council, a handful of land giveaways and a lot of zone densification passed quickly during ordinances on second reading. After a brief celebration of the life of Jack Sharp, a resolution about creek clearing led into a deep dive into city expenditures on cleanup versus prevention. The next topic of debate was a resolution to approve a third-party study of police department culture paid for with privately donated funds. The study was requested by the incoming chief, but the discussion about police culture went beyond the study. Ordinances on first reading stretched into an hour-long debate about housing, density, and the myths about low-income, mixed-use, multifamily dwellings. And rounding out the agenda, the president of Knoxville College proposed a plan to help alleviate some of the housing pressure in Knoxville while maintaining the educational mission of the college. Public forum included two individuals who addressed homelessness, housing, and the city's failure to do much about anything. Now we go to Councilwoman Amelia Parker raising concerns about how the city spends money dealing with the issue of homelessness.
I just wanted to raise a few issues, same issues that I've raised previously, but with this item and the next item, it represents $400,000 in creek cleanup work. And, I continue to see this as unfortunate that we choose to invest the money on the back end and not on the front end. Because other cities have been able to create safe outdoor spaces where they provide resources to an outdoor encampment and treat that as a place for folks to transition from the outdoor encampment into housing. And actually, when they get a complaint from a neighborhood about an unauthorized encampment in the neighborhood, they now have a place to take them to. Just moving the encampments, clearing them, putting up these measures underneath bridges is honestly a waste of money. There are groups in the community who want to do this work. The issue is that we need space to do it, and we need laws in place that allow it to happen. But we could actually use some of our city-owned land to create a pilot project to show that this can work, because it's worked in other cities. I continue to meet, talk with, work with grassroots service providers who are providing services to people experiencing homelessness in our community, including housing, who have major agencies referring people to them for housing, people from the state referring them for housing, and the city won't even acknowledge them. It doesn't make any sense. And these folks don't even know that there's a mayor's roundtable on homelessness. We've got to bring in all of these groups. We can't just work with the large agencies because the need is so great. We have folks who are stepping it up in our community, and they need our support.
The incoming police chief has requested a study of KPD's culture. Company 21CP, or 21st Century Policing, has worked with Chief Noel previously. The study will include interviews, focus groups, and an anonymous survey of KPD employees. The intent of the climate assessment is to, quote, provide actionable recommendation for increasing employee satisfaction at KPD. Here is Mayor Kincannon describing the need for the program and the response from the council.
Issues at the police department with retention and recruitment have been an acute, I would say, crisis situation. And so understanding the culture and making sure that we make it a place that people want to join and stay in and have, top quality officers, and having a specialized effort to help Chief Noel get off on the right foot is essential.
I think we all would be remiss if we did not acknowledge that We have had culture issues at Knoxville Police Department for many, many years. And those started bubbling up here in the last 2 years. I have always been an advocate and asked for an anonymous survey so we can get to the root of how do employees at KPD really feel about the work environment and the people that they're working for and the leadership there.
I'm happy to see some effort. But as I read through the proposal, I do think it's lacking. I'm reading this as organizational culture, processes, those types of things, right? But what we've been dealing with are employees who are dealing with harassment and discrimination. And so, at minimum, we need this contractor to understand when looking at policies and practices, anti-harassment has to be on the list.
During the discussion of the 2023 Capital Improvement Plan, Council members Smith and Parker raised some concerns about where exactly city funding is focused.
There's an opportunity to turn the dial a little bit towards that neighborhood infrastructure. I know there's a lot of wastewater budget, but particularly blighted property remediation, sidewalks, and some of those neighborhood kind of infrastructure projects in the outer lying areas of the city are extremely important, and I think we should shift a little bit more budget next year to those areas. But
one thing that the community has been calling for quite a while, and it's similar to what Councilmember Smith said, but moving that investment outside of the downtown area. But we just can't seem to do it. And some of the projects that I brought up over the last couple of years, I'm still looking for them. I still need to talk to finance who say these projects are in here, but they haven't started. I see no improvements, and I see the money being prioritized in the city for a certain area, and we need a more equitable plan for our capital improvements budget.
The most controversial items on the agenda were several rezonings to support the development of a new 120-unit low-income apartment complex on Bruin Road. The rezoning is required to allow construction to qualify for state and federal housing incentive programs. Mr. Huber, the proposal's developer, laid out a clear reasoning for the selection of the location.
Just wanted to reiterate a couple of things of the reasons of why you are receiving this in the 15 planning commissioners unanimously voted to approve or recommend that you approve the rezoning on Bruin Road. One, because when you guys did recode, RN5 is really designed to be a transitional zone. It's designed for that. This isn't a transitional area. You have commercial at the red light at Dutch Valley and Bruin Road. This is just a few hundred feet up the road. Past that, you get into more of the residential side, single-family duplexes and things like that. The second reason is the property is located in an area that's already got multifamily in it. Number three reason I think they approved or recommended approval is because it's within walking distance to two public parks. The number four reason I believe that they're recommending approval is that it's only 450 feet or so away from a CAT bus line. This allows quick access to any of the city services, jobs, entertainment, shopping, public amenities as well. The occupancy rate of apartment complexes right now is 98.9%. My point is there's a tremendous amount of pressure for housing and the need for housing in Knoxville.
The desperate need for affordable housing did not stop four homeowners from showing up to oppose the development.
And I'm president of the Inskip Community Association. And we're really against the plan because we still have too much density, and affordable housing is a necessity. And Inskip has its fair share of multifamily type. That's the whole issue here.
We feel that amending the maps confers special privileges to the applicant and the investors involved. Someone has decided that that is a good piece of property to build affordable housing on. We're not against affordable housing. Everybody needs an affordable place to live.
Ladies and gentlemen of City Council, Mayor Kincannon, I thank you for your time and attention. I oppose the rezoning of this property and the development of this property because I think it will set a bad precedent encouraging development over personal safety. Unless the city of Knoxville is willing to invest the money in redoing Bruin Road, unless Mr. Huber is willing to invest the money to build a pedestrian bridge that will allow people living in his development to safely cross Bruin Road to the park, we are just encouraging development at the risk of people's lives.
The debate continued amongst the council, with members Thomas, Roberto, and Smith arguing against the development. The council also asked additional questions of the developer and the zoning board.
So as recently as 6 years ago, the policy was not even to go up to R2 zoning. And now we're making this leap when there has not been significant changes in that neighborhood. So this is an abrupt change in long-standing policy.
The change in situation is the housing crisis. The city of Knoxville is in a housing crisis, as is Knox County. And every time we meet as a council, there's discussion about more money for affordable housing. Where do we find places to put more housing?
This one, we were looking at the amenities that were in that area. So the park, there are two, I believe, cat lines that are in relative close proximity to this site as well. In comparison to a lot of other areas, staff feels that the infrastructure that's there and the fact that the sidewalk plan for the city also mentions the need for a proposal for a sidewalk on Bruin Road as being part of that justification for the increased in zoning and the change in the plan amendment.
HUD and THDA do classify different areas of qualified census tract, saying we feel like there is more of a need for affordable housing in these certain areas. So we would prefer that you put affordable housing in those areas. And the Bruin Road area is in one such QCT that they support that.
This development, or this site, makes me think of Pond Gap, which some of us were on council. I'm not sure everyone was on council when that got approved. That was 102 units. And the argument against that was it was next to single-family housing, and it was going to be a detriment to them, and it was going to make traffic unbearable. It hasn't done that.
But the price, if we're not careful, we're going to pay is diminishing existing neighborhoods.
What is the threat to a neighborhood when multifamily housing comes in? I think that the way of the future is that residential zoning will be for all types of residences. I think that the future of zoning will see only allowing multifamily in certain parts of town and single family in others as discriminatory. I do. Now, these are the zoning laws that we're working within at the moment, so I understand that. But I just had to challenge the notion that multifamily housing threatens neighborhoods with predominantly single-family housing.
The final items on the agenda were also zoning related. The interim president of Knoxville College introduced a plan to revitalize the historically black campus.
I'm Leonard Adams. I'm the interim president at Knoxville College at 901 Knoxville College Drive. Just really want to take this time to thank you all for the hard work that you're doing, and that hopefully you accept the recommendation from the Planning Commission. We have carved the college up into 4 sectors, and we are looking at ways to be inclusive and have shorter pathways to careers. Our front section, we are looking at to remain our collegiate front. Our 4th sector, which is where we're proposing this affordable housing development. In the middle, we're looking for outdoor classrooms and outdoor living room spaces to include potentially a partnership with TCAT of bringing some of those trades over to Knoxville College. So we have a lot before us at this time. Again, I want to just thank this body for, in a sense, allowing Knoxville College to be who we were, but that's not what we're going to be going forward. This is an opportunity for us to invest into this campus of 58 acres to ask for you all to approve 11 acres under this approval.
All items on the agenda for the evening were approved by the council. And now we leave you with highlights from the public forum.
I'm out on the streets every single day and have been for 6 years as a constituent for the homeless, drug addicted. I target and find children, underage children, because we have no safety net. None in this city. I'm the guy that literally walks the greenways and the railroad tracks as a constituent, as a father with raised children, and I find people. I found frozen bodies. I found dead people. I found children. We have no place to take not just the homeless, but I'm talking kids. And when Ms. Parker brought up the homeless forums and roundtables, we don't know about it. I'd love to go. I hold a lot of information. I've got 2 of the young people right here. They're adults now. One of them, 17-year-old sister, I got him out. And the next day, trying to get his sister, when I found out a 17-year-old girl was out there, she was dead. Okay, this boy's hurting. We have to answer this as parents, as constituents of this town. You know, there's problems here. Ms. Parker mentioned, I've got one of my best friends, Mr. Grimes, right here. He runs an outreach on a disability check because what happened to his own son 5 years ago. But we don't hear about, any help for any of us. We're not in it for the money. That's not why we're out here. I love my city. It's a great town. But we got breakdown.
Earlier tonight, we had a great question by Councilwoman Parker about what we need to do different things. And we're not. And then you replied, I'll be honest with you. You replied in, I think, a very disgusting way. I voted for you. I voted for you because I believe in you. You said, basically, to paraphrase, you said, we're doing plenty. The real answer to that is no, we're actually not doing plenty. We're maintaining the status quo that's being so destructive to so many people. That's what happens when it's something called relative poverty. It's a difference, the growing difference between the haves and the have-nots, and the more discrepancy you get. That is something tracked through social science, which always means higher rates of violence, drug addiction, suicide, all of those bad things. We're going to have to evolve, and there is no escape from that. I guarantee you all, mark by these words. This is not going away. It's only going to become more and more accelerated. I'd like to close with a suggestion. Look at the state of Utah, what they've done. They're just simply giving houses to homeless people. What they found is a 91% reduction in homeless rate.